The champ is here.
We will definitely not shut up and dribble.
The champ is here. I must be the greatest. The champ is here.
I'm going to continue to stand with the people.
The champ is here.
I will not lose.
I'm a bad man. I shook up the world.
Yes, welcome. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you are here with we. My name is EJ, and I got my man.
MH.
Yes, he's the DB of the show, and we are Black in Sports, giving a voice to the culture that won't shut up and dribble. Here interviewing the best professionals in the game and in the boardroom, covering it all, laughing at all, while providing a platform to be heard. Now, today's show is sponsored by Windermere agent Stacey Connor. Whatever your real estate needs are, Stacey will help you achieve your goals with confidence. Top luxury agent, director of sports and entertainment division. You can reach her at 702-741-5944 or Stacey Connor at Windermere. All right, so without further ado, man, we got to welcome our guest like we do. He's no stranger to hard work. He understands the value of creating his own opportunities. 11-year professional in the soccer game and counting, Quincy Amarikwa. Did I get it right, man? Did I get the name right?
Yes, you did. I appreciate that.
Okay. Well, hey, Quincy, man, how we do, man? We jump right into it. So we need to get a shoot your shot moment from you, okay? So this is where you went for it all, you bet on yourself, and it seems like you do that a lot in life. So give us a story where you bet on yourself.
Okay, how much time we have? Well, I'd say my whole soccer career is me betting on myself and probably doing it more than I should have, but I'm not mad at it. I gain a lot of experience, and I feel it's given me a very unique perspective, a very valuable perspective that I think that will serve me well, not only in the rest of my career, but definitely post-career as well, too.
Oh, I love it.
So, Quincy, where did the love for sports start, man? Where did the foundation start?
Ooh, okay. Well, I think the love for sports was just kind of innate in terms of like I just like learning anything. So I think I gravitated towards everything that was presented to me. I did everything from, home ec to sewing to ballet to judo to pole vault, disc.
Wow.
So I think I talk about it a lot when I'm talking with my mentees and people that I'm working with, right? Your greatest strength will become your weakness,
Right.
enough time. So I think it's a great strength of mine, but I've been able to understand when it becomes my weakness. Jack of all trades, master of none is how most people have heard it. But I also am someone who's very stubborn, and I don't like someone labeling what I am or am not capable of.
Sure.
So I think you can be a jack of all trades and master of all. So I like pressure. I perform well under pressure. So I think I self-sabotage
Okay.
to create the pressure to push myself to beat who I was. So I that's kind of where I come. That's how I attack it and approach it. That's why, my brand, you see it back there, Mental Strength League,
Yeah.
MSL, is born out of necessity.
So you're always going after yourself. You're your worst critic.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I don't want to compare myself to anybody other than who I am and who I want to become. And the kind of idea was more, if I can create a system of thought, a process of critical thinking that doesn't allow me to use complacency and my own limited my own limiting beliefs to allow me to become complacent. That's when you start your downfall. It's just, right. You don't realize you're falling until you hit bottom, and then you're trying to build your way back up. So
digging out that hole.
it's just been a process. I think most times I'm of the belief that you put yourself in the hole in some way. And if you realize or figure out how you put yourself in the hole, you can always maintain personal responsibility for where you're going to get to. And you can create a path that you can continually move forward with. So, when you say what's that question was a loaded question, but I appreciate it.
No, I love it. And you mentioned pole vault. So being the soccer is the sport that you chose or went professional, and we'll get to that point. But what other sports did you try out?
American football,
We could let's take a pause right there. What position did you play American football wise?
I was wide receiver.
Okay.
So I was MVP wide receiver of my high school team. But it's funny, like playing professional soccer was never my goal, and it was never something I even thought about, right?
Sure.
I didn't even think about or really understand or know about professional soccer until I was invited to the combine.
Okay.
Right. So I just love playing sports, and I love showing up and knowing I'm not the best, but hyper focused in on figuring out how to beat my competition. So I'm not romantic about, let me use a better example. So like, if we're going to play video games, right, and we're going to play a fighting game, and you're nice at the game, and I know you've invested more time, more effort, more energy into it than me, and you can do combos and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm looking for that. If all I have to do is smash the X button and do a low kick and just kick your leg. And
you talking a little Street Fighter right there.
Yeah.
Street Fighter.
Doesn't matter. I'm trying to, saying my college coach would say, and it resonated with how I approach it. It's learn to win, right? If you get too romantic with how to win, you might completely overlook the simplest way to win. So it's also play smart, right?
So you was one of those guys that was breaking my controller back in the day. I was pressing X too hard, and when you leave the house, my X don't work no more.
Button stuck.
Button stuck down.
I wouldn't take it that far. It was more so, I'm not sabotaging. I'd find out what you hate most and what your vulnerability is. And if you don't like the fact that all I'm doing is sitting here in a block stance for the full 3 minutes, I get one punch at the end, and I just win. You have 99 health and I have 100 health. I win. You don't complain and that's not the way to play the game. There's so many other. I say yeah, but I won, so who cares? I don't care.
That's what they say with Floyd, right? Like people don't like his boxing style because he's a true boxer. They want to see him get punched in the face, and it's like, no, I'm gonna be a technical boxer.
Exactly. I'm gonna do whatever I need to do to maintain the perfect record. Right?
Absolutely.
And when you get sucked into trying to appease what everybody else wants you to be, that's when you lose. And I think only the greatest realize and understand that. Realize and understand that you can't please everybody, but not only that. Okay. Yeah. So it's not that not only that you can't please everybody, but that's part of it, and you're okay with that.
Yeah.
You can sit in being hated, and you can keep doing work knowing that people hate you, knowing people are plotting on you,
especially if you're winning.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's motivating.
Yeah.
To a very select few amount of people, right?
That is very true.
Yeah, and it's understanding that it's your own ego that drives that to a certain degree, but then also your own insecurities.
Yeah.
And you tap into those and you lean into those, and those who are able to do it, I think, are able to maximize their output, become most productive, get to very high levels of what other people would deem as success. But most people don't get there, so everyone has an uninformed opinion on what it takes to maintain it, let alone get there. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, outside looking in, obviously playing, the receiver position in American football is using your hands. And then obviously soccer is you not using your hands. It's all your footwork. So what about the game of soccer drew you closer to, and by the way, before I finish this question, I know your birthday's coming up, so happy birthday, by the way, man.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, definitely. Happy birthday.
I should have said that earlier. But anyway, what about the game of soccer that led you, that gravitated you to just, that sport?
Got you. Okay, so on both sides of it, I was giving a little bit of background as to how my approach and how I'm looking at it, right? I always wanted to play American football. I really enjoyed it and I liked it. But I came from a time when people only saw physical attributes as determining whether or not you can be successful at the game or not.
Right.
So I was 4'11", 100 pounds my freshman year of high school.
Okay, right? There you go.
And I was trying out for the football team. I'd made the football team. And I was playing receiver. And what I loved most about football is you don't have to have any previous understanding of the game to be the best person on the field the moment you show up. It's just purely athleticism, right? So I really enjoyed it.
I don't know if I fully agree with that, but continue down your path.
Yeah.
That's what I'm telling you. This is what I'm telling you. At least at that level, right? We're talking about not can you hear me?
Yeah, so that level. Okay, that makes sense.
I'm talking about me at 13 years old, freshman year of high school, right? And for me, when I'm showing up, that's the first time I'm playing the game. And I realize and understand that athleticism is a hugely advantageous attribute at that level, right?
Okay.
So when I'm looking at it, I'm going like, well, I've never watched it. I don't understand how it works. No one's teaching me it, but I'm one of the best players on the team at the time. And who doesn't like that? What kid wouldn't like that at that time, right? But what I also understood was that I do not have the size that coaches are looking for to give opportunities. Like I said, I was 4'11", 100 pounds. So I played for the 2 years, but I had realized like I'm not going to be able to take this very far because physically there's too many things that I'm having to overcome. And only as you get older, these guys get bigger and bigger and bigger, and there's no guarantee that I'm going to get any bigger. So when you're asking me that, that's where I'm going like, all right, I need to lean more into soccer because that suits my physical traits at the time. Though I did enjoy playing football, I'd say maybe more than I enjoyed soccer at the time.
Nice.
It does that to you.
Well, it's a great sport, you know, and I'm biased, so, but
I am as well.
All right, so really quick, want to get into some of your playing days through college. So you played soccer, you know, you went on after making that decision to go full tilt with soccer. You went to UC Davis and became a Hall of Famer. So how was that, process going to school and being recruited, growing up in the California area? You were born in Bakersfield, California, correct?
Yeah, so I was born and raised in Bakersfield, California. I guess I give the condensed version that I can. I played soccer in high school. I had I had good stats, but the limit of my understanding of how to get recruited and play in college was just you play good and someone gives you a scholarship offer. That's just how I thought it worked.
Right.
I wasn't getting any offers, so I just assumed I wasn't good enough at soccer to play. So my plan was I had got into UC Berkeley academically, and I had the pole vaulting record at high school. So I was going to go and walk on for the track and field team.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't until the last tournament of my last game of my club soccer career when we were down in Southern California, I think it was San Diego Nomads tournament, where two college coaches were recruiting a year out. So I'm African, I'm Nigerian. So I started school pretty young. I think I was a 16-year-old senior. So wow. the coaches were recruiting a year out,
right?
The opponents. And I guess I had a good game. And both the coaches had asked who I was and where I was going to school, and everyone had let them know, like, he's not planning on going to school. No one's recruited him, and he's a senior. They had both brought me on a recruiting trip, and from that, they offered me a scholarship. So I picked UC Davis because academically it was the better of the two, and I was going to school for pre-med. So the goal was maybe to go to medical school, but my mind was to figure out a business venture that would allow me to not have to go to medical school. So
there you go. Switch it up on them.
Yeah. So that was my thought, but I figured, worst case scenario, if I don't figure it out, it's not a bad fallback plan to become a doctor. And for my Nigerians out there, they understand.
So that's where I was going to go. So that is a definite question, because that is a real. So two questions on that. How was it growing up and playing sports? Was it like, okay, in a Nigerian household, like, yeah, you can play sports as long as you keep your grades? And then when you said, hey, I want to be a professional soccer player, not a doctor or engineer, or what's the three? A doctor, engineer, and
doctor, engineer, or lawyer.
Those are
the only three professions according to Nigerians. Nothing
Absolutely.
else.
So how was that conversation when you said, tell your parents you want to be a professional soccer player?
Not too, I would say it wasn't too difficult, because I know it was probably very difficult for my dad, right?
Okay.
Like very difficult, but not too difficult in the sense that I think my dad had seen that I'm okay. You know what I mean? Like in terms of like, when I left the house, and I'm like, in my mind, I go, I know what I'm needing to do, and I know what I need to build for. And, being the firstborn in Nigerian Igbo culture is, there's a lot of responsibility that's associated with that. And
right.
I really embrace that. So I think it was most difficult for my dad in terms of, hold on, wait, you're going to sign very non-lucrative professional soccer contract rather than go on to medical school, and at that time, 2000, so it's basically a $34,000 a yearly semi-guaranteed contract was what I was offered. That was my first contract. And at that time, I mean, we could go into detail as to how ridiculously
that's
illegal those contracts were we had at that time.
Right.
But what I told my dad is I looked at it and I said, look, Dad, I'm seeing the level of the legends at this level right now. And I very firmly believe that I could play in this league for 10 years on a minimum contract. There will be a team who finds me or who would see me. And I'm looking at it more as I only have to really commit 2 hours of my time a day to this. So it's a full-time entry-level salary for 2 hours of time commitment a day. So I can allocate the other 10 hours of my workday.
You had to pitch it.
My business ideas, investing in myself, and doing stuff like that.
You had to pitch and sell that to Pops.
Listen, selling a first-generation immigrant Nigerian man, who's firstborn, like my sales skills, I had to develop them early.
Boy.
If I wanted any type of freedom, oh man, you're making me think of all. Oh my God.
Firstborn and only son. Yeah, he was on you.
And then my mom was. My dad. So I always talked about my parents like I was perfectly parented because my parents like. My mom was born and raised in Superior, Montana. My dad was born and raised in Owerri, Nigeria. Right. So like. It was a learning to survive in the cultural differences in that world of two very focused, hardworking individuals who are laser focused on me, right? And going like, and I have a lot of ideas and vision and energy. I'd like to say my dad was a CEO. He's a visionary. He's the one raising the money, getting the money, and my mom was the COO. Their operations every day, just like holding me accountable. And if there's the only person who's ever beat me, or I'll ever admit has beat me in life, is my mom, right? Like, I give so much credit to how much energy and focus and dedication she had to. I mean, I was not easy, you know what I mean? And she was there every single day, teaching me the value of discipline before I understood what it was and why it was so important.
Right.
And I'm so grateful for that because that is what I preach so much. Like someone like myself, when you don't have the experience of seeing the results of discipline,
right, you're
going like, hey, why this? Why that? Why this? No one can talk me through why not this. I just think everybody's lying to me, and they are, but I can't prove them wrong yet. So I'm dedicated to doing the work necessary so that I could hopefully prove them wrong in the future.
Right.
And once I'd made that connection, then I was able to go like, okay, I see why my parents look at it the way that they do, understanding the world that they came from, and further understanding that the world I grew up in was very different in many ways, but very similar in others. So, this is good. You guys are getting me to
peel back those layers, man.
Open up.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Use the word allocate.
So, and definitely just because it's two parts to why I want to ask this question, and please, open up as much or pull back as many layers with having your father as first generation, man, and with what people are working to do. And we have some mutual friends that are dealing with this, but the Stop SARS, man, is your family and extended family, his family, how are they doing? Is there anything that you want to say or educate people on about that situation?
So for me, I have to be honest when I say I haven't gotten as deeply invested and researched in that as I would under normal circumstances. So I don't know how much we'll get into it, but a lot of my focus and energy has been on building and growing the BPC organization, so Black Players for Change.
Right.
It's the first Black-led, player-led organization in the history of U.S. soccer. So so I do have many of my family members back home. There's already levels of difficulty in figuring out how to manage those relationships from a distance and trying to provide opportunity and creating that. And then now coupling that on top of it with like the pandemic and now with what you've just mentioned, it's difficult. I mean, it's already difficult, but it's hard to fully.
No, it definitely has multiple layers, right?
Yes.
When you're looking at, it's already a difficult situation, right? Just in itself. And then you add the layer of the distance and being able to have a foot on the ground and you know, the problem you always have with these, even, you know, like when we had hurricane relief, people weren't trusting the Red Cross, right? So you have where your money goes, who's doing what with the money. And then, like you said, you throw COVID on top, it's really difficult. So let's jump into in your career, right? So you're here with our hometown lights, so glad you're definitely here. But I want to stick with this topic since you brought it up, and then we'll get more into just your experiences playing. But you did create the coalition that you just spoke on, which is amazing because we posted on our social as well that MLS is really putting forth a huge effort to change the dynamic of Major League Soccer. With not only working with the coalition you created, but doing some things as far as coaching jobs and looking in their front office.
Yeah, so it's been a collective effort of the 12 executive board members who came together, right? I guess this best way to describe it more is, you know, in the U.S. soccer system, obviously as a professional athlete, you have your team and your network, but you're in it alone, for lack of a better term, right? And being black men, you also are trying your best to not allow your race to be the reason why you're limited in opportunities or chances or whatever. Like, I think I was just I was doing an interview the other day, and I was really expressing to the audience, like, look, I don't want race to be the reason why I don't have an opportunity.
Right.
So I'm for every reason other than race. I'm doing every other job, every other thing I could possibly develop skill so that I can, even if it's the smallest thing, just so I can be like, you know what? I didn't introduce myself properly at the beginning of it. You know what I mean? That's why. All the other stuff.
Which part of that, which is great. I think that's an amazing outlook, but it sucks that we have to do that though too, right? Like we are always I believe I form the same kind of process, right? Like I want to make sure I check off everything else other than me being black before, you know, I look at an opportunity or look at a situation. So, and it's a shame that we have to do that, but yeah, I understand. I can relate to that.
Okay. And I appreciate you saying that, because it's, and I say that to set context in terms of, because a lot of people are saying like, oh, the race card. I'm going like, I don't want to play that. I don't want to. And if I get to a point where I feel like that's the reason why, then I don't even play it, because I don't want to even give it that value. I don't even want to give it that, you know what I mean? I don't even want to breathe life into that.
Right.
For me, there's other opportunities. There's other people. There's other things. I'm not going to, if I think race is my limiting reason or factor, then I'll find another, or I'll build for myself. I'll build my own and create for those who look like me, and those who support and elevate those who look like me.
Right.
Having said that, it's not until, you know, the recent events with George Floyd, where the black player pool comes together and galvanizes around that event and gets to a point where they're angry and they want to take action. They want to do something, right? They want to protest. And I say they, because at this time I'm in my free agency year. I'm not under contract. All of the 12 executive board members, I was the only one who isn't in the MLS under MLS contract. The other 11. So I'm speaking we. So I'm acknowledging.
It's all good. All good.
Okay. So you can tell I've been doing this for a while, right? And
right. You coming very PC across it, making sure you dot all the I's and all that good stuff.
So what was my point with all that? What was interesting was we've never had a safe space like that for black people to share their experiences. And once we did, it was the first time where you could be like, okay, that's not just me. I'm not crazy. You're experiencing that too. Oh, you've been experiencing it for 10 years, 5 years, 6 years. Okay, great. Thank you. now we have the collective data that we need
Absolutely.
to point back to substantiate our claims. So now we can actually get in the game. And from there, that's where I was brought in by the group because of my experience in organization, part of the MLSPA, just from that perspective. So for me, it was able to kind of pour in all of kind of like my IP from all the experiences that I've had over time as to how I've been taken advantage of, or how we can be taken advantage of, and really establish an equitable stake in the game for Black people, something that has never happened in U.S. soccer.
That's awesome.
And so now I'm, we're seeing how it's unfolding. We're seeing the partnerships that we've come together with. We've seen the initial outward support of the league, but I think what's crucially important is the outward support, and the social media posts and the claims of elevation are great, but until there's tangible, actionable contracts in place that are going to hold the league accountable to the things that they're saying for the long term, you have an old head like me who's cautiously skeptical and hopefully doing their part to hold these organizations accountable. They've acknowledged that there's discriminatory practices. They've acknowledged there haven't been pathways based on how their hiring practices are. So step one is acknowledging it, which is great, but and then talking about a plan to address it. But now, yes, exactly, being committed with that. So tying back to what we said in the beginning, understand that not everybody's going to be happy with you all the time, but you're remaining disciplined and focused on what it is that you set out to achieve, why you did it, and getting through those difficult times is how we do it.
Right.
So,
and a big part of that too is good to see that the MLS has publicly stated that they're looking to do that. So it's one thing to say it on in the dark, but to go out publicly and said this is what we're going to do. It allows people to say, hey, you said you're going to do this, and check back 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 years to see what the progress is. So kudos to you.
Exactly. No, thank you.
How did the partnership work with the Black Players for Change and the Players Coalition with Anquan Bolden and Cross Sports that way?
Yeah. So when we originally announced on Juneteenth, we were Black Players Coalition of MLS. Right. And then the opportunity with the Players Coalition had reached out to discuss a potential partnership and what that would look like, and the work they had been doing for these last 5 years in the 4 pillars of social justice that they've been like very heavily involved in. I think, if anyone hasn't already heard the story of how Malcolm Jenkins got started, I'd definitely go and check that out and hear that.
Right.
But we could tell and see they're very passionate about what they were doing, and we greatly understood that they had the infrastructure and the things in place to execute on the things that our group was very passionate about and wanting to get plugged into right away. And we look at it in terms of, we want to amplify those who've been doing great work but maybe haven't had the awareness or the attention or the funding to push it farther. So we also talked earlier, I said, you got to understand where your ego is in play and where your insecurities are. I think our group has been phenomenal at understanding that there are people out there who can do the job better than we can. Our job is to understand the job that they're doing, how they're doing it, and educate ourselves, and then plug in, amplify, and push that message. So trying to summarize as quickly as possible what that relationship was, how we got connected with them so early. We just saw a lot of synergies. We spent hours working with them, talking through how it would look, what the expectations were on our side, on their side, what our goals were, how we would like to stay autonomous and want to be able to not only do things within MLS, but also outside MLS. And that really allowed us to really maximize, our brand, our message, and what we're doing. And that's when we were able to, in the partnership with them, that's when we transitioned from Black Players Coalition of MLS into Black Players for Change. And that's how we've been operating since then. And that's allowed us to further secure other partnerships, funding, and continue to hopefully duplicate the model across sports.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So Question for you. Do you think athletes or sports plays too big a role in politics?
No. And so I have my podcast, and I was talking about this on my podcast the other day. Many people are angry that politics are into their sports now, and they're just get politics out of my sport.
Yeah, don't mix your politics with my sports, right? Like people get all
don't let them in here,
right? And
it's really saying like, well, they're here now because you haven't been doing enough when you're not in front of the TV, you know.
Absolutely.
So it's come into your living room, into your sports, because you've had the advantage, or privilege has such a negative connotation with it, right? To not have to deal with it.
Right.
And now you have no choice. Just like I have no choice when I go out into the world. I am black. I'm perceived as black. And that is something I have to be mindful of. And I have to play the game a little bit different than my white counterpart or friend. And I know my white counterpart or friend can tell me like, no, I don't see you as this, and everything's equal and all the things are fine and everything's
right.
okay. And I hear them when they say that. But my experience tells me that's naive to believe because of the personal experiences that I've had, you know? And I think where I've been extremely lucky and blessed is I'm biracial, right?
Mm-hmm.
My father is Nigerian. My mother is German, Native American. And the beauty of that, again, strength and weak, your greatest strength and your greatest weakness.
Right.
It's okay. I know what the experience is like when I'm walking in the store as a young kid with my white mother. And I know what the experience is like when I'm walking in the store with my black father. And they're not the same, you know? And
at all.
And you can comprehend that at a young age.
And you know that.
Right.
And you learn that young. And what I learned was, I know my dad's the smartest man I've ever met in my life. People don't talk to him with the same level of respect and,
facts.
You know, as my mother. That's weird. What is that? Okay, wait, hold on. You know what's really weird? I'm noticing that like they talk to me like in the middle. What is that? And then you're like, okay, that's how it works here in America. Everything here is built on race, and race is a huge fabric of how this came together.
Right.
But nobody talk about it. We pretend that it doesn't exist. It's not a thing. So like it's basically like we're in denial of our own history because we're ashamed of it. And there's multiple layers to it from my perspective, especially in my experiences with certain things. But I say that in terms of with white individuals in my experience, you're black, which means you have all the negative stereotypes that come along with being a black person. Mm-hmm. But on the same vein with my black people and black experience, you have all the negative connotations of white individuals. So you're sitting here getting the worst of both worlds.
Yeah. Right.
You're getting blamed on both sides, and you're basically in the middle saying like, well, I can see, you know, where you're right and wrong and where you're right and wrong. And we're right in the middle. So I feel like my job is to be like an interpreter. And that's what I am. And I'm very grateful I'm very grateful for the position I was born into. Yeah. Right. I was born in America. And I was also able to go to Nigeria at, when was that? 9 years old. Mm-hmm. 9 years old. And I could see my cousins in person back home. Mm-hmm. And you're looking at, in one day they do more physical work and more physical labor than you'll do here in America in a month.
Facts.
1,000.
Super facts.
In a month. And the level of their ability to like take minimal of anything and make do and make the best of it. Right?
No, 100%.
Unparalleled. So when I'm coming back here at 9 years old, I'm in my room, and I remember I was like, holy crap, my room is as big as the room my dad came from. Wow, I have air conditioning. I have a bus to take me to school. Yeah. And for me, that's where I became fully self-aware, at 9. And that's where I was able to then go like, oh, okay. And I made a decision. I said, I'm never going to tell my dad that anything I do is too difficult because I know it's a lie.
Well, there you go. So talking about difficult, so you had a major injury that took you out the game, and then You fought back in the game, man. Tell us about that experience and what it was like to go through that to actually become the MLS Comeback Player of the Year.
Oh, okay. Well, that would be my second stint at it. So when was I 13 years old or 12? 12 or 13, I broke my femur playing soccer.
Okay.
So I got kicked in the leg. I was in a straight leg cast for about a year.
Uh-huh.
And that would probably be the first time where you have a doctor, a professional individual who's telling you like, oh, you might never like play again or walk again and all this, that, and the other. And my career is essentially over, dead, right? At 13 years old.
Mm-hmm.
12, I can't remember when it was.
No worries.
Like during that time. And then I came back from that, and then, here I am at college and I go pro, and now I get to I'm with San Jose Earthquakes. I signed, the largest contract of my career. I was my own representing agent. I negotiated that deal.
Oh boy.
There you go.
All right.
Yeah.
Boy.
A lot of
Say that again.
Say that again. For the people in the back, say that again.
Say that again.
Yes. Well, so we could probably talk about that. I had my initial so this is great. Sorry. So my experiences with agents and learning how the agency world works, I didn't like not knowing how the business worked and functioned, and most agents wouldn't teach me. So then I said, whatever, I'll just do it myself.
Right.
So that's where I started doing research and figuring out and learning that. So if you're wanting to see how a contract negotiation, or at least that previous deal of mine, worked, you could just go to perfectsoccerskills.com/contract. And I removed the names and stuff of it, but you can see the back and forth in terms of how I negotiated that deal.
Mm-hmm.
Because for me, it's access to information is why we haven't had the opportunities and we haven't had an equitable stake in the game. So for me, every step of the way that I've learned something, I've shared it with the entire player pool and everybody, just like I'm doing it here now. And that's probably why most of the individuals at the top aren't too particularly happy with me. Most of the time. I'm aware of that. So at that time, and reflecting back on it now as well too, that was the hardest time for me in my career because I'd always played with a chip on my shoulder, and I was motivated to secure a large contract so that I could fund the business ideas I had that nobody would give me the money to do.
There you go.
I had the motivation and the passion to get there. Then I secured the contract and I had it. And now I could fully see like half the stuff I'm doing and how I'm playing is dumb because I'm just risking everything.
Right.
And it was trying to recalibrate my world at that point in time. And before I really could, then I blow out my knee. So in that game, I ACL, LCL, bicep femoris, popliteus tendon, and IT band, all just from a hyperextension. So I went in for a cross in the box. I landed with my straight leg. The goalkeeper was jumping past me. My leg was straight and just snapped through my leg. And excruciating pain. It was not pleasant, right? But I remember I'm laying there on the ground, and I start laughing to myself.
Boy.
I'm laughing because I go, all right, Quincy, let's see if you really believe all this BS. Right? So I saw the irony in it in the moment, and I thought it was pretty funny, which I have a pretty twisted sense of humor, obviously.
Obviously.
Yes. I was laughing to myself. I was telling the people, don't touch me because it was excruciating pain, right? But I was laughing to myself because I said, all right, well, at least you have something now to prove to yourself that you believe what you're saying. You really mean it, right? So now I had an opportunity.
Man.
And that's where it came. So doctors basically at that time, I'm 30, at that time 29, 29 turning 30. They're thinking the whole organization is basically saying his career's over.
It's a done deal.
His knee's gone. His knee's gone. We could even feel my hamstring rolling up my leg.
Oh.
And it was they're saying 18 months back if you're lucky, And I worked with some, D-Law, shout out my boy D-Law, and then worked with the guys over at Competitive Edge, and
Uh-huh.
I was back on the field in 7 months. I think is when I was back.
Man, why was that not your shoot your shot moment? Because I mean, damn, to come back from all of that. First of all, to start off laughing at the shit is that's a whole nother story. But to come out and just, you know, overcome all of that, to come back, and then not just to come back and play. That's one thing. To like win the comeback player of the year, man. But hey, we got to keep it rolling. So Miles is about to hit you with some of these quick hits. So quick hits sponsored by Thick Fit. When it comes to your health, it starts in the kitchen. Thick Fit Meal Prep is here to help you along the journey. They provide healthy and delicious meals that are easy on the go, fitting any and everyone's lifestyle. Call them at 702-850-3388 or follow them on Instagram, Thick Fit Meal Prep. Hit them with them.
Quincy, first time you were starstruck, if ever.
Oh, I haven't been.
Okay. All right.
Wait. Oh, you mean in professional sports and stuff? I haven't. First time I was starstruck was when I saw my wife on A2 at UC Davis, and I told Tiffany that's my wife.
Oh, okay.
That's when I was starstruck.
You just got some brownie points, boy.
Yeah, you did. And then my wife's going to be on my head. So thank you. Shout out to your favorite teammate in the professional soccer.
Oh, that's so hard, man. Come on, bro. That is. I have so many favorite teammates for different reasons. Like, so.
Give me one. Give me one of your favorites. Just if you can name one.
A couple. One, I'll say Wayne. Wayne was one of my favorites because he was the first guy that I met who I was like, yeah, you're crazy like me. I don't get it. His humor was like mine, right? Like that twisted dark humor. So
sure.
On that, Danny Husen, spent a massive amount of time with at San Jose.
Right.
Ryan Johnson, my rookie season. Man, all the guys on Colorado Rapids.
Look at you shouting out everybody.
Shout out Colorado.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm a journeyman, right? I've been at multiple organizations, played for multiple teams. I've had hundreds and hundreds of teammates.
Right.
And what keeps me going is the characters in the locker rooms and the relationships I build with these guys. And that's why I started doing the vlog when I was at San Jose, because it's like, the world can't not know how dumb these guys are.
Is that when you started doing hashtag Quincy time?
That's the love.
So yeah, Quincy time was when I'd started in Chicago with the Chicago Fire. Sean Johnson, Mike McGee, Alec Can, everybody. Shout out Eunice Kim, Jeff Crandall, Leo Flores. They believed in me and they took a chance. Basically in preseason, I showed up to them and I called a board meeting with our media team, and I basically said, like, on the board, I said, I know I'm a no name and nobody knows me, and I played only 299 minutes last year, but I guarantee I'm going to get a starting spot this year. Don't worry about that. I'm going to make that happen. This is the show I want to do, and this is how I want it to be. And they were just like, all right, yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Yeah, so it's a huge shout out to them. So Quincy time's where that started, and then when I ended up back in San Jose, that's when I started doing the vlog.
Got you.
Yeah. Last one.
Yeah.
Wayne Rooney without the hair or Wayne Rooney with the hair? You start one or bench one? As a man that's losing my hair, I had to ask this.
Shit.
I don't know. I guess with well, he has hair. You're saying like
there was a time where he didn't have as much hair. We'll put it that way.
I didn't. All right, well, I didn't know that. I was like, hey, he has hair. Like, I don't know what. Without I don't know, like he went bald at some time or what?
Yeah, there was a time.
Okay,
there was a time
with hair, because that's when I met him.
All right, gotcha.
All right, so let's jump into the winner's circle, man. We have a lot to go over here, because you're part Jamaican, even though you're Nigerian, with all the jobs and negotiating your own contract. But the winner's circle's sponsored by Nevada Grow. Nevada Grow is providing the right data, the right decisions, and the right connections to grow small businesses here in Nevada. So let's start off with your GOAT mentality. I think you really been very cerebral, and that's one of the strong points that a lot of people talk about, like reading and looking at your films. People just talk about, and you as well talk about how mentally strong you are. So What is that business-minded GOAT development program?
Okay, so the quick pitch is if you want to understand so it's basically the Amarikwa process is a 7-step mentality process. Starts with the first 3 steps are the 3 S's of self-awareness. So self-honesty, self-initiative, self-accountability. I do a talk in my teammate Bill Hamid's camp. So shout out Bill Hamid, perfectsoccerskills.com/SSS or QuincyAmarikwa.com/SSS. And you can listen to that where I break it down fully because it takes more than like a couple minutes to break down the mentality.
Yes, and that makes sense.
But that mentality was more so coming from the perspective or understanding that everything we see in the world started in someone's mind at some point in time, right? So because we know that that's true, you can manifest, you can create whatever you want in the world. You just have to break it down to its most basic parts in your mind, and then work in the physical world to build that. So, building it from there. And for me, what I realized when really contemplating and thinking about what was critical in my ability to become successful or get to a level of proficiency at the professional level was self-awareness. And I spent a long time figuring out how do you create the experience of self-awareness. And I touched on it where I went to Nigeria at 9 and I got to see what poverty looks like. I got to see what lack of opportunity looks like. I got to see what work looks like. And when I'm coming back to America, that's where I have a perspective of seeing like, wow, the opportunity around us is like infinite. It's just your ability to understand it when you see it and then know what to do. So becoming self-aware is something that everyone is capable of doing, but you might not become self-aware if you don't have access to the experience.
Gotcha.
So for me, I was going like, how can you think your way to self-awareness? And that's where I started.
And give them the steps. That's awesome.
Yeah. So that's kind of like the foundation and the bedrock of it. And then from there, you'll now have a new perspective on reality, which now allows you to gain experiences and process information in a way you've never been able to before. And then that's where you can self-reflect and now build. And it allows you, no matter where you're at and what you don't have around you, right, to at least start building somewhere. You got to build something in your mind. You need to have some foundation and assess your environment and then figure out how you build your way out of whatever circumstances you're in. And that's the mentality.
Talk about perfectsoccerrecruit.com. I think you touched on building and on your own recruiting process. So talk about that business venture.
So Perfect Soccer Recruit. So you see right now it's perfectsoccerskills.com. It started out originally as perfectsoccerrecruit.com.
Got it.
When I touched on my story, I didn't understand the recruiting process. I happened to get lucky to get recruited. Once I got to the college level, I realized there's this whole world of recruiting and there's all these. Had I knowing what I learned once I got there, had I known in the beginning, I believe I would have had many more recruitment offers, a lot more money, and all that kind of stuff.
And that's a really big thing. I mean, we always talked about that even in the locker room. We actually brought in a recruiting specialist. She was more on the lines of football, but I think even us going back through our own individual recruiting process, if we would have known just a few things, it would have helped us out a lot. So kudos to you to going through that and saying, yo, this was a hole or missed opportunity, and here's how I can help.
And so I'll be like, you get lucky once, but I won't get lucky again, right? I'll make a mistake once, I'm not going to make the same mistake again. So I go through college now, pros and an opportunity. I play my first year, I get traded to Colorado Rapids. That's where I meet Ross LeBeau, right? And I learn Ross LeBeau's story. And when I talked to him, his recruiting process started because he was proactive with his mom. So he's from the south side of Chicago, right? I'm not even going to say the name of the street because I don't remember what it is and I'll butcher it. But he started working with his mom to write letters to coaches early, right? So he was super proactive. By the time he was a senior, he had 25 plus recruitment offers, and he ultimately went to UVA. So when he shared that with me, I was, my business mind, entrepreneurial mind was like, yo, that's a business, that's a book, we need to write it,
Oh, and that's where the book came from.
Yes. So the first book was the Ultimate College Soccer Recruiting Blueprint. So extremely original title.
Very creative.
Yes, extremely creative, right? We're trying to hit all these SEO things.
Right.
It's like, this is when I was first starting out. You don't really know, you know?
That was before you had EVLV, where you had the creative branch that could have helped you with that, right?
Yes, that's before we built EVLV, but we built EVLV because of all these mistakes and the things that we learned over time. So
right.
I basically, I was just saying like, yo, Ross, I'm the total case study for what you shouldn't do,
Mm-hmm.
and you're the case study for what you should do. Let's put these together. And I said, if you work with me to write the book, I'll build the business. I'll do all the work. I'll do all that stuff to bring it together. And
Wow.
and he worked with me to get that first book, and then from there we wrote the Perfect Soccer Player Blueprint.
That's dope.
We've written the Ultimate Goalkeeper Blueprint, and then we built the entire platform into what it is right now, perfectsoccerskills.com/PSTM. You get access to all of our webinars, training, books, tools, resources, weekly training programs, and more.
Man, you got the roadmap laid out for him, don't you?
Yeah. Blueprint.
There you go. All right, so talk to us a little bit about Always in Your Head, right? So in your videos, on your background, you know, that you have right now, on your social posts, see the little smiley face guy with the arrows or the two fingers pointing to his head. Where did that come from, and what's that all about?
So
As he laughs. I love this. This is a good story.
So my brand is MSL. I'm in your head, right? So Mental Strength League. Like I said, before the BPC, there had never been a black organization in the history of U.S. soccer, right? So, but there was a lot of people who said that racism isn't a thing and it's not impeding or limiting your opportunities in the sport as well too. So they'd say both.
Right.
It requires a high level of mental strength, right, to navigate this system and the old boys club that is the U.S. soccer system. And like I said, I got a chip on my shoulder, and I don't like people putting me in a box or defining who I am for myself.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I'm in the MLS, but I really play the MSL, you know, so it's kind of the play on words. And, you know, when we're early on in our careers, you know, and we fly commercially, right? And we're wearing our Chicago Fire gear, and people say, "Oh, you guys are firefighter? You know what I mean? You guys firefighters and stuff like
the PAL League, the Firefighter League."
Yeah, are you guys a college team and that? Like, there's a lot of stuff that we early OGs, right, had to just like as part of the course. You know, it's MSL. You know, MSL, and that's just it's a reminder that, you know, no excuses. Figure it out. Get it done. And I'm in your head because I'm saying MSL. I'm shouting MSL. I'm embracing the haters. I'm embracing the negativity. I'm embracing the fact that you don't want me to be here. You don't want to give me an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing everything you can to keep me out, to tear me down, to remove me. But that means I'm in your head. You know, I'm in your head. I'm in your head rent free.
Ooh.
You're thinking about me. And you wish I wasn't there, but it's too late. It's too late. I'm here.
Were you having flashbacks to, was it Zlatan? What's his name? The dude from the LA Galaxy? Were you having flashbacks to him?
Yeah. Hold on. Let me check my pocket and see if he's come out to play. He's just chilling. He's still chilling in my pocket. So
you own him, huh? You own that one.
Yeah, the brand is free. So here's a stat for you. 100% of the time. So last year, this guy said he was the MLS, right? That's what he said. He shouted that from, I'm MLS and all that. And so I said, okay, well, I'm MSL. So we'll see what happens when we play against each other. He's 6, whatever, you know what I mean? And then I'm marking him on corners like a small child. He's running off into the side, scared. He doesn't know what he's looking at. Wow. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, yo, what's up? Everyone told me you're supposed to be super good and all this stuff, but not impressed. So MSL is greater than MLS because, you know, he said he was MLS. I'm MSL, shut him down. And people who like stats out there, 100% of the time, he lost to me. So that's a fact. So
boom.
Facts. People can be super mad about that. Oh, you haven't played over here, but I played him once. I beat him. I don't need to play everywhere else because I already beat him. Who cares? Doesn't matter. I'm in your head. MSL.
There it is.
MSL.
All right. So, 2 other quick things. So, one, your hustle started at a very early age, man. You loaning books and selling selling for people to play video games. You done jailbroke the video games and
broke somebody's controller too,
pressing X on people's controller, selling candy. Like you and that selling candy kind of spoke to me because that was my hustle too when I was little. Except I didn't have a Costco card, man, so I had to go to the local corner store to get my hustle on. But it started early, and was that just the entrepreneurial spirit that just kind of grew in you? Because you know you do soccer as a means to an end, but your vision is a lot bigger than that. So, did you freeze on me? Oh yeah, I was. So your vision is a lot bigger than that. So, how have you developed that? You know, coming through and just through your career and now.
Ooh, okay. So the way I approached it, like you said, kind of was a means to an end. That created a lot of issues and problems for me, and ones that I didn't understand because I couldn't understand why other people didn't approach it that way. Right? I understand now. Right?
Okay.
I learned a lot of lessons, right, as to how what I was doing was seen as disrespectful in like the culture of soccer. But I didn't know soccer culture. I didn't know it. I never watched pro on TV. I didn't have a player that I followed or looked up to. It was just like I was given an opportunity to come and try out for a pro team. I'm like, okay, yeah, let's do it. So then I'm there, and all the guys are talking to me about their favorite players and Premier League and World Cup, and they're looking at me, and I'm just basically just blank staring them in the face, like I don't know.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Willie Bean.
And I'm like, and I don't care. And they can see on my face that I don't care. But that's like their idol. You know what I mean? Like they're like super disrespectful. But I'm just like, why is it disrespectful? Because I didn't watch this guy when I was 8 years old. Like I don't care.
You didn't know Wayne Rooney without the hair.
Yeah. So that's something I didn't get. You know what I mean? Like I didn't get it. And because I didn't get it, a lot of stuff was way harder on me than it ever had to be.
Sure.
But I had to figure out how to survive. And what, and that's why I, became my own agent. It became my own marketing agency. I had to learn social media. I had to figure out how to do Quincy Time and shows like that so people could get to know who I am and what I really stand for and how I think, instead of like pigeonholing me in these backdoor conversations, which is what politics of sport is.
And creating your own narrative. So that's amazing.
Yes. Yeah. That's amazing. You'd ask in terms of like that vision, it was just like I knew I had a strong belief that I just had a strong belief that I was doing it for the right reasons, and the work would pay off eventually.
Well, hey, and that's it.
And that was kind of it. And I think also for me, it's just like I told you, I made the decision at 9. Like I can never tell my dad that something's too difficult because I know it's a lie. I can figure it out.
There you go.
So like I created this. I talk about the MSL as a game of 4D mental chess, right? Like I created a 4D game of chess where I'm having to beat my future. I have to beat my past self to create my future self. And a decision I made at 9 years old is what I'm still holding myself accountable to. So it's like almost like, there's good and bad in that. There's ups and downs and ebbs and flows. But I think that spirit came from, my father and my mother. Culturally, it's just like working hard is not an option. It's ingrained in you. Yeah. Sticking to what you say you're going to do is not an option. Getting educated is not an option. Like doing what you want to do is not an option unless you can prove that you can on your own. So it's like you have very limited pathways. Work with. And if I want to have my freedom, you know what I mean? I got to be good at everything. I can't come out here making the claims that I'm making, speaking with this, arrogance, as some people would say, confidence as other people, and not be able to back up what it is that I'm saying. Facts. You can't do that and be black because you know what I mean? Everyone's looking to humble you. Everyone wants to prove you wrong. So like, yes. Yeah. So like, I'm not saying all this because that's a word. I'm making it up. But if you think I am, I don't care because the truth is true whether you believe it or not. MSL, I'm in your head.
The truth is truth. I like that. All right, man. So time flies when you're having fun. Well, we're coming close to the end of the show. So how we like to end it is called the assist. This is where you get to drop an assist or a jewel. And I mean, just everything you've been doing, has definitely been providing, some life lessons. But share a life philosophy with us, a quick story. We got about a minute left. So give us a jewel that you would like to drop or something you would tell your younger self.
Oh.
Could be a quote, your mantra, anything like that.
See, I'll quote myself because I like this one, and I've been living by it recently, right? So you make mistakes, I make magic.
Ooh, fire! I like that's where we ended that.
Yeah, that's a light skin quote.
Hold on, man. See, there he go.
I love y'all, man. I love y'all. I love y'all.
Always one, right?
I love y'all, man.
It's always one.
I love y'all.
And shout out to the Frugal Athlete shirt. Shout out to
yes,
Amobi.
Sir.
That's the homie Amobi, man. I see you rocking his gear, man. A fellow soccer guy, so I see how y'all stick together.
I love y'all, man.
Yeah, there you go. I like that. I'm glad you guys are already knowing about his brand, man. This man's been on his hustle and grind for years. You guys make sure you check out A Frugal Athlete. Mans has been just hustling, fellow Nigerian, you know what I mean, out here putting a lot of players up on just financial literacy game, and always happy to support my fellow brothers. So check out A Frugal Athlete if you guys haven't already.
All right, and we're gonna get you some black and sports gear as well.
That's
so
dope, bro.
hey, thank you, man. We really appreciate you.
Appreciate
Thank you,
it, man.
Katie. We thank her for her help on this. Thank Brett Lashbrook. He definitely recommends you, and also JM, Jordan, who's been on the show. They definitely reached out and said to get you on the show. So appreciate having you. Thank you to all of our sponsors. And of course, thank you to people for listening. Hope you enjoyed the show. Follow us on Black and Sports on all your favorite social media platforms. And follow us on Black and Sports Podcasts on all of your podcast platforms. That's a tongue twister. And don't forget to check out The Locker Room. Short episodes dropping every Tuesday on your favorite podcast. So Apple, Spotify, iTunes, iHeart, everywhere you listen to podcasts. And remember, stay safe, practice gratitude, and we're rooting for you.
Screaming, all us blacks got is sports and entertainment until we even.
Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Yeah. Yeah. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Yo. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Spent about 2 racks on handmade new rags. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. That's everybody from sports to college class to rap.